I'm spending Thanksgiving on a U.S. tugboat, watching a bird smoke on the grill, while the United States quietly lights the fuse on something it's actually calling the Genesis mission. On paper, it's an AI program to accelerate scientific discovery. In practice, it's the closest thing we've seen in decades to a new Manhattan Project. Except this time, the goal isn't one bomb. It's a permanent AI-powered machine for inventing whatever comes next. President Trump signed the executive order on November 24th, 2025, launching the Genesis mission as a national effort led by the Department of Energy. Love him or hate him, set that aside for a second. This isn't about vibes. This is about what the U.S. government is actually building. And what they're building is big. So what is Genesis really? Strip away the press language, and you get this. Genesis is a national discovery platform powered by AI, built on top of federal data, supercomputers, and labs. The plan is simple to describe, hard to execute. First, unify the heavy hardware. Link the world's most powerful supercomputers, AI systems, and emerging quantum machines. Wire them into the Department of Energy's national labs and advanced scientific instruments. Particle accelerators, light sources, reactors, and more. Second, pool the data. Take decades of federal scientific data sets, energy, climate, nuclear, materials, biology, and make them AI ready. Third, train scientific foundation models. Use that data to train large scientific AI models and build AI agents that can generate hypotheses, design experiments, and analyze results. Fourth, deploy robotic and automated labs. Create a closed-loop AI experimentation platform where those agents can control robotic labs, run experiments, and feed the results back into the models. Put it all together and you get a one-sentence summary. The United States is taking its biggest computers, its deepest data vaults, and a lot of its lab gear, and turning them into one giant AI-driven R&D machine. Here's where it starts to feel different from normal science. Genesis isn't just about using AI to help scientists. It's about building closed-loop discovery, where the lab itself starts to think in cycles. Step 1. An AI agent proposes. It looks at the data and says, if we mix these materials at this temperature and pressure, we might get a better battery, tougher armor, or a useful protein. Step 2. Robots execute. Automated lab equipment runs the recipe. Mix, heat, cool, measure. Step 3. Instruments observe. Sensors record what actually happened. Performance, structure, toxicity, all of it. Step 4. The data flows back. The results feed straight into the model. The AI updates its internal map of reality and tries again. Step 5. Repeat at scale. Instead of a few grad student experiments a week, you now have thousands of hypothesis test update loops per day, running 24/7. Old science looked like this. A human has an idea, writes a grant, fights for lab time, and maybe discovers something in 5 to 10 years. Genesis-style science looks like this. An AI agent has an idea, a robotic lab tests it immediately, the system learns and repeats until something useful drops out. That doesn't make human scientists irrelevant. It does change what doing science means when the discovery loop itself is increasingly automated. If you like big American projects, there is a lot here to be excited about. The Genesis mission is aimed at breakthroughs in energy, biotech and health, materials and manufacturing, and national security technology. Faster, cheaper discovery here means shorter timelines from idea to prototype to deployment, more leverage on every tax dollar already sunk into data and infrastructure, and a better chance that the U.S. stays ahead of rivals who are absolutely not sitting still on AI or science. And honestly, I'm glad this exists. A country that refuses to build tools like this just hands the future to whoever doesn't hesitate. My concern isn't shut it down. My concern is simpler. Build it, but aim it well, because the stakes are as big as the promise. To make Genesis work, you have to bring together huge stores of data, concentrate compute, and concentrate control over what the platform is allowed to explore. That creates an extraordinarily powerful coordination point inside the American state. Whoever sets the priorities decides which discoveries get accelerated and which never make it out of the slow lane. Whoever controls access decides which universities, companies, or agencies ride the rocket, and who stays stuck on the ground. The same system that finds better cancer drugs, cleaner fusion paths, and stronger materials can also find more efficient explosives, nastier chemical or biological designs, and harder to detect ways to break things. The executive order explicitly points Genesis at national security domains like biotechnology, nuclear, quantum, and microelectronics. The line between defensive research and enabling dangerous capabilities is going to run straight through this platform, and all of this is happening in a political context where the push is toward acceleration and dominance. And the language around independent oversight and hard limits is a lot fuzzier. So you get this combination: huge centralization of AI, data, and labs, strong language about U.S. leadership and national security, much less clarity about who, if anyone, can say, no, that line of research stops here. The original Manhattan Project bent the entire state machine toward one outcome: build a weapon before the other guy does. Genesis bends that machine towards something broader and stranger: build an AI-driven discovery engine that never really turns off. The real question isn't Genesis, yes or no. That vote is already cast. The real questions are these: who sets the priorities? Who gets access? What guardrails exist? And if Genesis actually works, if it starts cranking out real breakthroughs, how do we share the upside and manage the blowback when everyone else builds their own version? Most of us are never going to steer a supercomputer cluster, but we can still watch for the signals. Does Congress actually fund this like it matters? Do we get real reporting and transparency, or just slogans? Does Genesis become a public engine for shared progress, or a subsidized playground for a handful of firms and agencies? The United States has decided to build a national machine that thinks with our data, runs its own experiments, and learns from reality faster than any human lab ever could. Genesis could be remembered as the moment we unlocked a new era of medicine, energy, and materials. It could also grow into the R&D arm of a future sand god, a concentrated engine of discovery whose choices drift further and further away from everyday citizens. Both futures sit inside the same system. So the real fight isn't over whether Genesis exists. It's over who gets to aim it, who gets to benefit, and whether the people paying for it still have a say in what this machine is allowed to do.